Hey everyone, it's me Sloth. And in today's video, I'm going to be doing my guide for Berserker. This video will be very similar to my Assassin guide with the way it's structured. I'll be showcasing the abilities in the kit and basically what a Berserker looks like, what their role is, what their abilities are. Then I'll be showcasing how to join Berserkers, which is a level 30 warrior requirement by the way. And after that, I'll showcase the build that I made for Berserker, which is the equipment and stuff I use, the stats I put in, the skills, all that good stuff. I'll show that, and that'll be about it for this video. And as always, if you do find this video helpful, do be sure to give it a like, and if you want to see more Vesteria content, be sure to subscribe to my channel. There are still only a small percent— No! So here we are with Berserker. Now Berserker is one of 3 warrior subclasses for level 30, so at level 30 you get to pick a warrior subclass. Each warrior subclass has their own little gimmick, so like knights get to use a shield, paladins get to use like heavy weapons, great weapons, stuff like that. And the Berserker gimmick is that they get to dual wield, so you actually get to use the offhand and you get to put another sword there. Just like Assassin, Berserker also just gets 3 abilities. The first one being War Cry. Now War Cry is pretty much just a simple damage buff. It has a 60-second duration and cooldown when maxed out, so basically I could do this and I just got like a 15 attack damage buff. Now, there is a slight difference between the attack you do between having Warcry and not having Warcry. And another thing about the ability is that it does work with groups of people, so you can like buff a bunch of people at once. The thing about that though is that I don't really like buffing other people because then they just get more loot with the damage. So what I usually do is I back away from everyone and then do the buff for the plus damage. Another reason you'd want to do this anyway is because when you buff a bunch of people at once, it lags the game out really bad, so it's generally not worth it to buff a bunch of people at once. Their next ability is Ferocious Assault. Now this is their best ability in my opinion. This ability gets a lot of DPS, and basically what you do is you stand still and you just do a flurry of attacks that do like a lot of damage really fast as well. The one con is that you do have to stand still while doing this. It's not like you're very mobile. And I can't even really showcase the amount of damage because these are just level 14 guardians, but in the beginning I did show myself using it on the gate in Whispering Dunes. So you can see how powerful that ability is. The last ability is Blade Spin. This is, I don't actually have this maxed out on my main save, so the version you're seeing right here is the level 3 version, but I'll show the stats for the level 10 version on screen. Basically, you just start spinning around like crazy, like a Beyblade, and yeah, you do damage. It's a pretty solid AoE attack. My one issue with Blade Spin though is that it does leave you pretty vulnerable, whereas something like Spin Slash or Ground Slam get the same job done and are pretty, you know, they leave you a lot more mobile. Alright, now I'm going to show you guys how to join Berserker and so now I'm going to show you guys how to join Berserker. So first off, you want to be a level 30 warrior, and you also want to be in the warrior stronghold. And basically he's just this big barbaric guy all the way in that top tower over there. So I'm going to speed up the video a bit, but I'll show you guys how to get up there. So once you're in like the center of the warrior stronghold, you just want to go left over here. And there'll be some stairs you can climb up over here. You want to go all the way to the door over there. And the trainer is right here. He's a pretty friendly guy. Alright, so now I'm going to get into the build I made for Berserker. But before I do begin, I do want to clarify the equipment I used. 2 you can actually use instead. So the helmet, while I do use a Helm of Ancient Order, this is actually not the best helmet. The best helmet is the Forgotten Helmet, which you can get as a drop from Possum or Reanimated Slimes. The only reason I'm using this Ancient Order helmet is because it's fully Great Scrolled, and I never fully Great Scrolled a Forgotten Helmet, so this just gives more strength anyway. But this is a helmet you get from like Crystal Beetles in the Whispering Dunes. It's a very obscure helmet, and it's not worth getting at all. And you just want to use the Forgotten Helmet here. Now for the armor, I use Gladiator armor. This is from the Colosseum, so I know this might be a bit tricky for noob players to get. But it's 100 marks of valor, and the only way to really get valor in the Coliseum is if you're max level and you're able to put up a fight. So if you really want to, you could try buying marks. I don't know how much they go for, but I believe gladiator armor on its own goes for around 3 or 4 gold each at the time of recording this video. By the way, values always change, so don't take that as reliable forever. But whatever way you do it, you want to get the gladiator armor. Now for the swords. This is another situation very similar to the Forgotten Helmet situation. For the main hand, I would actually use a scrap sword. The only reason to use this is because it's variant and it has 12 strength. But if you can, get a scrap sword and use that for the main hand. The scrap sword is from pit slimes. You can get it from them. And I don't think possum actually drops. I think pit slimes are your only option. But scrap swords, it's basically the same stats as an edge, just without the perk. But it has more attack. And then for the offhand, I would actually use an edge, because this would give you the Blood Craze perk, which gives you an attack speed bonus. It says it does stack, but I'm pretty sure it just stacks with all the rest of your attack speed, like agility and stuff. I don't think using 2 gives you extra stacking attack speed. I'm pretty sure. But regardless, it's a very small difference anyway. You could just use 2 edges if you want. But the optimal build is to use a scrap sword on your main hand, and then in the offhand you want an Azarai's Edge. The Azarai's Edge you can get from the Whispering Dunes. It's one of the mini bosses. I may actually make a video on Whispering Dunes covering all the different stuff there, since I know that's a topic that not much people have delved into. And for the boots, I just use gladiator boots. These are also from the Coliseum, I believe, for 50 marks of valor. They're not that necessary, but they give you 5 strength. The more strength, the more merrier, so that's why I use gladiator boots. Now let's get into my stat build. Now, assuming you're using Forgotten Helmet, what I do for Berserker is literally I just do 5 dex, everything else in the strength. Berserker really benefits from having physical power, and I don't think dex really benefits it as much as it can, because dex is mainly good for assassin. Berserkers, they want strength so their skills are better. Their M1, while Berserkers get a really good M1 with triple slash, which I'll get to later. But max strength will make your ferocious assault very powerful. It'll make ground slam very powerful. And the only reason I did 5 dex was just so I could get a cheap movement speed perk. You honestly probably don't even want 5 dex, but I do recommend it. And the rest can just go into strength. You really look plus 130% physical damage. It's really worth it for the physical damage bonus. Now let's get into my skills. The adventure skills never really matter. Honestly, like, who cares what you do with these? You want double slash, obviously, but that's about it. I actually maxed magic missile over Rockto just because the homing missiles sometimes are useful in PvP for tracking down assassins. It's a very minor, stupid situation, so adventure skills you don't have to worry about. You just obviously want double slash. And for the warrior book, now this may surprise you with spin slash, but I actually did max triple slash. The thing about triple slash for berserkers is that they do more damage with it because they have 2 swords. And doing triple slash by itself is actually better DPS than just spamming spin slash like every other warrior has to do. Triple slash is a very good source for berserker DPS, which is why I did do that. And even though my attack speed is pretty slow, the Azarai's Edge perks makes it a lot faster when I get a crit. And yeah, spin slash has 3 points. The only reason I put 3 points is because that's the minimum requirement to unlock ground slam, which is maxed out. I also maxed out roll just because I like having mobility. Honestly, some warriors may not need roll and might want to do something more damage based, but trust me, roll is pretty useful for navigating the map and even in PvP, so that's why I just did that. Max roll is just, I love max roll, alright? But yeah, max ground slam, because max ground slam is actually really good in PvP. It can actually one-shot people if you have like red tier or gold tier swords. I don't actually have that, so I don't think it can. But ground slam maxed out, you definitely want that. Last time I said to not max it out, and back then that was different because for starters, M1 sucked at doing DPS back then because the hits wouldn't register. Now that's completely changed, so you don't really need to sacrifice points from ground slam to do DPS anymore. I would definitely do, oh my god, I would definitely do max ground slam. And that's pretty much it for the warrior skills. Now for the berserker skills, this is where some people may get mad at me. I did max Warcry. Now, Warcry is different from the other buffs knights. Like, Paladin has a buff too, and so does Knight, where they, like, Knight will give you extra defense and Paladin gives you extra health regeneration. The issue with those buffs is that they have a 300-second cooldown. For some reason, Warcry is special and gets a 60-second cooldown, which actually makes it a lot better in my opinion. But like I said, I do like using this separated from people because I don't want to buff people. I want to get all the loot. So you can also try doing that if you want. But it is a pretty good buff. It's 15 attack bonus. And it is actually pretty noticeable when you do max it out. But the main reason I max out Warcry is because I'm not a big fan of Blade Spin. I only put 3 points into it, which is just the rest of my points for maxing out everything else, because my issue with Blade Spin is that it leaves you pretty vulnerable. Like in a PvP situation, it's gonna get you killed, alright? The longer it lasts, which when you level it up it lasts longer, the more vulnerable you are. I like abilities like Ground Slam or even Ferocious Assault because they can be pretty quick and you can jump out of them easily. And if you need to do AoEs, spamming Spin Slash with mobs is also pretty effective. I'm not the biggest fan of Blade Spin, alright? And even with 3 points, it still works pretty well. I just preferred having the points into a damage buff because that's something I could just use for everything. Blade Spin, it's very situational and it's too vulnerable for me. Now the rest of the points went into Ferocious Assault. This is Berserker's best ability, hands down. I mean, come on. It's 195 power per slash, and you do like a bunch during the Ferocious Assault. And you also block a lot of enemy damage. Now this doesn't mean you can't die though. If you use this in PvP, you're gonna die, alright? This ability will leave you very vulnerable in PvP. However, when dealing with bosses especially, or just, you know, grinding these reanimated guys, it will do a lot of damage, alright? This is a good DPS move. This is what carries Berserker DPS. You want to do Ferocious Assault. I mean, it almost, if I had better swords, it would have killed that reanimated slime with one flurry, which, by the way, these guys are very tanky. So yeah, like, no matter what you do, honestly, if you want to max out Blade Spin over Warcry, that is fine. But no matter what build you do, you definitely want to max out Ferocious Assault. That's going to be a wrap for this video though. I think that's pretty much all there is to Berserker. You want a lot of strength, max ferocious, you want to use swords that give you free critical chance, and that's about it. My next video will be on Warlock since that did just recently get the massive rework, so you can stay tuned for that. Make sure to subscribe and put on the notifications if you want to get notified right away for that. But that's going to be it from me. Goodbye.